Hello mixtresses and mixters. This is mixtressrae. You're watching Mixtress Video. So I don't know, but you know, was I able to call this, like, is this video titled Darkwood Tarot Real Deep? Or is it titled something else, like Darkwood Tarot, a review? Or Darkwood Tarot, hanging out during a storm? I don't know. So what had happened? What had happened was like 2 weeks ago, something like that, I recorded a Darkwood Real Deep, and it was 3 hours and 15 minutes long. It's storming outside, so that's, I'm sure you can hear it. You might also hear my dog panting outside of the closet that I'm sitting in because she gets scared. So it was 3 hours and 15 minutes long, which I did not want, but also it was like really, really dark. Like the lighting was really, really dark, and I'm actually in the exact same lighting situation now, but I'm using a better camera, so it's not going to be as bad this time. But I do feel like in order to properly appreciate Darkwood Tarot, it needs to be dark. So here's the thing. I'm going to approach this a little bit more like a review, because what we're dealing with here with this guidebook, with my Real Deep series, I do like to really get into the guidebook. We've got like a little ghosty light flare situation happening here. Do you see that? I'm just gonna assume that that's a nice dark fairy that likes to hang out with Darkwood Tarot, right? So the reason why my original video was 3 hours and 15 minutes long was because I read almost this entire guidebook. And here's the thing. This guidebook is 291 pages. And what I discovered, I'm just going to try to start this with like a review. The Darkwood Tarot. This is a dark fairy tale deck. It is pretty heavily based on Rider-Waite-Smith tarot system, tarot symbolism. So it's easy to understand if you are familiar with that scenario. Okay. The guidebook. The guidebook is by Sasha Graham. I'm trying to like figure out where to put my legs during this whole thing. And I'm just going to move the deck aside for a second. The guidebook is by Sasha Graham. And it is, if you are new to tarot, I would say that this particular guidebook is actually pretty damn thorough as just a regular guidebook. So we're not going to read the whole thing today. But here you have, this is Sasha Graham who wrote the guidebook, and this is Abigail Larson who did the art. And you have an introduction. This guidebook is thorough on a level like the Tarot of Vampires guidebook, the whatever that was called, Phantasmagoria, something like that. It's got an introduction into the whole world of tarot, just sort of a mission statement from Sasha Graham. Part 1, Once Upon a Time. So it kind of like it sort of indoctrinates you into the world of like fairy tales and how this is a fairy tale deck. And then you get a little section on the shadow self. You get different ways to read the cards reversed. So this whole deck is kind of a shadow working deck, is kind of the way that it is described by the creators. Personally, I think you can do shadow work, in quotes, with anything. It doesn't have to be like with a particular type of thing. This talks about different ways to read the tarot, or different ways to create a book of shadows. This talks about how to initiate your deck. This talks about alchemical questions, enchantments, recurring patterns, the 4 suits, different meanings for the numerical meanings in the tarot. See, my dog is like leaning on the door. She wants to be in here with me, but I won't let her because she cannot be calmed. I've tried everything in the universe to calm her. I've had her for 14 years and she cannot be soothed. Then we have like some spreads, just a decent little handful of spreads, and then you get into the card meanings. There's a prologue, and then you get the card meanings. So I don't know how much of this I'm going to read. Basically, I'm not going to read very much of this in order to do a deep dive with Darkwood Tarot, because then we'll be here for 3 hours and 15 minutes. I've already done it. Ooh, we just lost power. Ooh, spooky. Should I even continue doing this? This is too dark. Darkwood Tarot, a deep dive. Oh, it came on for a second. All right, so I am gonna stop this for a second at least. And let there be light. Okay, it is, it's probably 12, more than 12 hours later. So we lost power last night. You got to see the moment for about 3 hours where I live. Yeah, that's like the longest power outage that I've had while living in this house. It's pretty, the power grid or whatever is pretty stable in my neighborhood, so it was weird, and it was like almost the entire city was out for several hours last night. So yeah, I decided to, you know, stop filming because there wasn't enough light, and also I wanted to conserve my phone battery just in case, you know, it was going to be even longer. But yeah, anyway, so that's what happened there. So we're not doing Darkwood Tarot at night anymore, but that's okay. Where were we? We were talking about the guidebook. So let's just hold off on relighting the candle, which burned down quite a bit last night because yeah, I just lit all the candles in my house and we just hung out for a few hours before bed. And then it came on just as we were like drifting off to sleep. The power came back on. Okay, so I'm not sure like where we were, what we were talking. I think we had just gotten to the point where I was trying to decide if I was going to be reading the descriptions. But something to know, like I want to do basically a review of Darkwood. I almost called it Dark Witch. That would have been a good title for this deck too. So the idea with this tarot deck is that here we have the Shadow Witch, and we follow her through. She's in several of the cards in the, particularly the major arcana. Like I believe this is her, and this is definitely her, and this is definitely her. So you get to see sort of the transformation of the Shadow Witch. It's about you. The Fool's Journey is the Shadow Witch's journey in this deck, and you are the Shadow Witch. So for me, this deck works really well because most of my planets are in my first house, which is the house of identity. So I think that's what I blame, like why identity is so important to me, why persona and how you appear to others. And by that I mean like my self-expression, my style, my, like, you know, tattoos, piercings, like haircut, you know, whatever, like all of that stuff is really important to me. Like, I want to project on the outside who I feel I am on the inside, and this deck for some reason just really taps into that identity space for me personally. So review of this deck, it's very RWS based. It's easy to read with in that sense. There are a few like deviations, like for example the Four of Wands has this like troll under the bridge situation. So that's a little weird. So, okay, I just don't know exactly how I want to do this. I mean, I guess because I do not want to do 3 hours. Plus, I don't have 3 hours because I have to go to work. Now that I'm re-recording in the daytime. So, let's light the candle again. No more cool storm sounds, but just you can hear kids because it's like playground time or something. So yeah, I just don't know. Okay, so like I said, 290-page guidebook. I was having sort of a bad reaction to it whenever I was filming the first time, and I think that that's because this guidebook does not lend itself well to reading all in one sitting. It wasn't meant for that. It's written, it feels kind of repetitive in that way, but I think it only feels repetitive because you're reading a guidebook all at once. Like that. So if you have Darkwood Tarot, I would recommend that you go through the first 46 pages, because that's like all of the introductory stuff, all of the sort of like mission statement of the deck and the spreads and like, you know, kind of basic stuff, entry to tarot stuff. There's a little bit of that in here, but it's all from the perspective of Sasha Graham, who wrote, so it's a unique perspective on tarot, I do think, and I like her. I've actually taken a course over the summer with Sasha Graham. I took one of Ethany's summer courses or whatever with her, and I like her approach to tarot a lot. So if you do have Darkwood Tarot, at least, like, you know, read the first 10 pages or so of the guidebook and see if you want to read the whole thing. But as far as like reading every single entry, that would be a fun thing to do as like a card study or something. You know, you pick a card a day from Darkwood Tarot and read the guidebook, but reading it all at once was very exhausting, which is why, since I need to re-record this, I'm not going to be doing it again in this video. But let's just see what I do. So here's the Shadow Witch in the Fool card. The guidebook says, the Fool is the archetype of the child. Each step brings you closer to your destiny. So every card has these sort of like, every major arcana card has the, you know, this little, the Fool, the Magician, whatever, is the archetype. So it tells you what the archetype is, and it gives you this little like key sentence. It gives you description of the card, gives you this full page, full color, and then you get the meaning upright and then reversed. And this guidebook is pretty consistent with like not putting symbolism in the keywords and not putting keywords necessarily throughout the symbolism. I mean, it gives you, it's more of a fantasy. Like you're reading, I'll read the Fool, okay? I'm not going to read all of these, but I'll read the Fool. Okay. Because that's a good entry into the deck anyway. The Shadow Witch takes her first step into the dark wood. A leap of faith is required. The timid say it is foolish to enter darkness sans light. map or directions, yet the Fool carries on with equal parts faith and ignorance. She tosses all preconceived judgments aside. The Fool acts in her own best interest. The Fool is a whole and complete agent of herself. She operates outside societal norms. She is not affected by the opinions, judgments, or advice of others. She is blessedly unaware of irrelevant prying eyes and speculation. Her wholeness is sublime. Each step unravels her perfection. The Fool begins her journey. The end is the beginning is the end. Her head tilts toward the sky, reflecting optimism and pleasure in the present moment. Her tattered clothing reflects an individual operating outside the realm of polite society. She travels, free from convention and obligation. Her bag contains past lives, karma, and experience. The white rose in her hand is purity and love. The black cat reflects feline magic. The fox is cleverness. The spider is the master storyteller. And the creeping lizard is passion and fire. Creeping lizard is way down here in the corner. Oh God. Really? My neighbor is a landscaper, so I can't tell if he's starting his equipment just to get it to his car or if he's gonna start mowing right now his own yard. Come on, man, not right now. This video is not meant to be, baby. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe this deck doesn't want to be public in this way. It wants to have a private experience with you, the reader. Anyway, that's the description of the Fool. I do like that it describes the symbolism of like why the white rose is here, why her bag is here, why each. So these four creatures, the lizard, the black cat, the fox, and the spider, are with the Shadow Witch in several of the cards. So there's a lot of animal spirit energy in this deck. I can't tell if he's going to mow or if he's going to take. I'm like staring at my neighbor. What is he doing? What is he going to do right now? Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close my window. So hopefully that's not too loud, because I'd rather just plow forward and go ahead and get this video done, man. Jeez, I already have to edit it. Okay. So I'd love to be able to take like the important parts of each description and go ahead and give you that part of it. Okay, we'll see what we can do here. The Magician is the archetype of magic and sorcery. All the magic of the world resides inside you. White flowers as pale as the moon blossom and release puffs of sweet, sugary pollen toward the Shadow Witch. She inhales deeply and stops to consider who would cast such a powerful flower spell. The hooting of an owl directs her attention toward an old woman. A crone stands at a ceremonial table. So this is kind of how this guidebook goes. You know, it's about the Fool's journey. So if you're not into that whole thing, I know some people are like, some people hate the Fool's journey for some reason, which I don't personally get. I love it. Like, it makes sense to me in a storytelling way to see it that way. But of course, if you don't resonate with that, then don't look at it that way. But so this is kind of the traditional, the Fool has encountered this person on her path into the dark wood. She's sort of still at the entrance to the dark wood. She hasn't fully gone to the depths yet. So that's like the whole premise of this deck, is that you're following the Shadow Witch as she encounters the dark wood, as she confronts the darkness. And some of these have this Magician has 1, 2, 3 full pages, not including the full page that is the imagery. So yeah. High Priestess. The High Priestess is the archetype of the authentic self. You are the divine whisper of the universe. The shadow witch feels water tickle her toes. She wonders if she's wandered into a puddle or a stream. So the idea here with the High Priestess is that this water, there was something about the water. What is it with the water? The High Priestess's dress dissolves into water because she is the font of all waters found within the tarot deck. She is lunar tides, rushing rivers, the lady of the lake. She is the amniotic fluid that sustained you. So that's the part of it, the part of the description that I really liked whenever I read this the first time. That every time you see a pool of water in Darkwood Tarot, it's coming from her. Her dress flows into, her dress becomes the water. Her dress is all the water that sustains life, which is, that feels more like an Empress-y energy to me, but it's just interesting that that's what we're getting in. And I like that the trees serve as the pillars, and they have a D and a W for dark wood. And I do like that, actually. And at first I didn't like, like the fact that the backs have the D and the W on them. It's almost like an artist putting their initials on it, but it's not. It's not the artist's initials. It's not the author's initials. This is the tarot of the dark wood. This is a fantasy, shadow, self exploration. That's what this deck is. He just started a piece of equipment and now he's like in his house or something fucking around. I don't know. Okay. Empress is the archetype of the mother. Your passion is the blueprint to your magic. So it's interesting also, I just feel like the Empress and the High Priestess kind of have, they almost feel like different aspects of the same entity to me, almost, because like the Empress has a book. She doesn't normally have a book, does she? And the High Priestess has that sort of like the waters that symbolize all womanity or whatever. So interesting. Okay, was there anything in the Empress description that I need to... I mean, these are good. This guidebook is great. It's a really good guidebook. But I don't want to have these deep dives be like a several part series in general. That's not what I want. So this was just the first time I was getting into like a really, really hefty guidebook. I'm not going to be reading a really hefty guidebook because I'm not going to be able to upload a video that long. I'm just not. The Empress takes the High Priestess's blueprint into the reality of the physical world. So she's sort of like is the realistic expression of the High Priestess. The High Priestess is more like, daydreamy, I guess. Okay. Emperor. I didn't love the description. Okay, I'll go ahead and read. Emperor is the archetype of the father. Define the boundaries of your life to create a kingdom. So I'm not going to read anything from the guidebook of this card because I didn't really like it. Because it was just kind of weird, like, you see this creature spying on you. You can feel it looking at you. And it's like, I don't want to have, we don't need that with like Emperor energy. We don't need creepy with Emperor energy. And I don't look at this card and think creepy. So. Oh, my favorite Hierophant, like, of all time. All the symbolism is there. Like, there's sort of this, like, the waters here of the High Priestess And I think that's mentioned in the guidebook. The waters of the High Priestess are sustaining the Hierophant tree. She's got her scroll with ancient symbols on it. She's sort of like, if you get past her, if you gain her trust, you can access all the other scrolls behind her. The crossed keys are still there, and they do have a D and a W on them. We've got the two little acolytes here. Is that the right word for that? I just learned that word. Two little turtles. Everything's great. We still have the hand gesture, the whole thing. The Hierophant is the archetype of the teacher. The answers you seek stand before you. And I'm sure there's some great descriptions in the guidebook too. Sorry guys. I just never really know how I'm doing these things. The Lovers are the archetype of love. Love is the unifying, expansive, and binding force of the universe. So kind of the description of the symbolism in the guidebook here is that they are in a lotus position within a lotus. And we're supposed to pay attention to the fact that he is paying it, all of his attention is on her, and all of her attention is on this angel up here. Okay, you know what? I'm talking myself out of, like, I don't really like, typically I haven't really liked this card, but it makes sense to me in the sense that, like, this deck is about, you know, going into your own darkness. So she's distracted by this dark figure because she's drawn to darkness. So she's not completely in this moment. So I guess that makes sense. Kind of wish this was like, I mean, this is the Dark Wood Tarot. This should be like a raven or a crow, right? But, you know, it's not Sasha Graham and Abigail Larson's fault that I am triggered by eagle imagery because I'm American. So, like, the eagle imagery is just shot down my throat so badly. The Chariot is the archetype of the hero/heroine. Spread your wings and take flight. This is like my favorite strength card of all time. We've got chakra energy going here with all of, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't really see all of them, but the idea of this is that her energy is aligned. She's aligning her own chakras. She is in control of her own body, her own reactions to the world. And this is just an incredible strength card symbolism, I think. Oh, I didn't even say. I need to at least read that part, right? Strength is the archetype of the warrior. Universal power lies within you. I totally agree with that. Totally. There's the Hermit. Got all of these, like, sacred symbols on the cave wall here. She's sort of got a Red Riding Hood energy. He just came back outside to turn off his piece of equipment. Okay. I'm not one of those people that pays attention to what my neighbors are doing, but it's just where I'm sitting in this closet. I can see exactly what he's doing, and it also is just affecting me in the moment. Just so you know, I'm not one of those, what's he doing? kind of neighbors. The Hermit is the archetype of the sage. The wisdom of silence is deafening. The Wheel of Fortune, which I love this Wheel of Fortune card with these little imp guys symbolizing the the figures that you normally see. This is kind of, I mean, it's pretty much a traditional Wheel of Fortune, because you still have the little snake coiling around, you still have the little devil guy on the wheel, and then you still have the little dudes reading books that are symbolizing the 4 fixed signs. But then you get like a little bit of a, you know, Sleeping Beauty in the spinning wheel moment, just with the fact that this little hand is over here in the corner, which I like. Wheel of Fortune is the archetype of fate, fortune, and destiny. The symphony of life is a perpetual wheel of motion. Here we have Julie from Peekaboo Rose's channel and the Justice card. The Justice is the archetype of the law. What you do to others, you do to yourself. Gorgeous. This is like pretty much my favorite. I have so many favorites in this deck. Probably my favorite Hanged One. I just wish it was called Hanged One instead of Hanged Man. But this is the first vampire I think we see in the deck. So this is the first time the Shadow Witch is encountering a vampire. And in the context of her story, it's significant, since she gets turned into a vampire by the end of the Major Arcana. So I believe this is the first time she's encountering a vampire. The Hanged Man is the archetype of the mystic. The deeper you look, the more is revealed. A vampire woman is the Hanged Man. Hanged Man is a mystic who sees everything from a different point of view. This is a great death card. I like the idea of, like, I think it even says this in the guidebook, that, you know, the little girl is curious about death because she hasn't learned to fear everything yet. She hasn't learned to fear it yet. And that's just a good reminder for me in the death card anyway. Just, you know, that whole... That's my least favorite thing about being an adult, is the fact that, like, I feel like anxiety just builds the older you get. Like, the more things you learn about life, the more things you're afraid of, you know? And this is just a good reminder to me to, you know, have that childlike curiosity about change and about things that you don't understand, instead of being afraid of them. And of course, death has the scythe and the hourglass. Death is the archetype of death. Let death teach you how to live. One of my favorite Temperance cards of all time, because it's total Maleficent energy. And I love the idea that the Tower is in the background. It's like, it almost makes the Tower feel more like something you're choosing for yourself. Because you're going to learn the lesson that you're here to learn with Temperance, and then you're going to walk past her down that path, and the Tower is down the road. So you know it's coming and you're still choosing it, you know? It makes it feel less like this sort of like thing that you have no control over in this deck. Temperance is the archetype of complexity. Transcend duality to embrace entirety. There's a lot of sentences like that. Like, Sasha Graham writes a lot like, I don't know, just like, almost like she just likes the sound of words together in a sentence, whether or not they make sense, which I can relate to that, because that's kind of how I write back in the day when I used to actually write things down. This is the Page of Swords, we will see later, fighting the devil. The devil is the archetype of the shadow. Make fear your friend and turn obstacles into allies. And this particular devil gives me very Tim Curry in Labyrinth. Nope, Tim Curry in Legend vibes, which I'm okay with. Tower. The Tower is the archetype of destruction. An act of release is the art of surrender. God, we had a so it was like an hour or two after the power came back on and we had fallen asleep. There was a thunder crack that woke us both up out of like a dead sleep. And my dogs too, just woke up the whole house. It rattled the house. I think it was the loudest thunderclap of my life. And I was kind of wondering if the house was cracking apart, you know, that's sort of like when you wake up in an abrupt moment like that. Yeah. Anyway. Love the star card too. Because I want to be in this. I want to be her. Like just hanging out. I just feel like this is a space where no one else is. Just taking a nice restorative bath in the moonlight, you know? The star is the archetype of healing. Universal alignment is your natural state. One of my very favorite moon cards of all time, too. Because, you know, she is the thing arising from the depths, you know? She is the creature. When you embrace that you are the darkness, then you can truly move beyond your fears. Then you're ready to walk down that path. Such a gorgeous moon card. Oh my God. The moon is the archetype of mystery. Portents are seen in the mind's eye and felt in the body. I don't really agree with all of these little descriptions, but it's just the easiest part to read for you guys. The sun is the archetype of creator. Health and vitality flourish. Just a little nitpick with this card. I don't like that she's like riding side saddle, because to me it just makes me feel insecure. You know, I think for a sun card, you would want, I don't know, if you're going to feel truly joyous, then you're going to be, you know, riding that horse with confidence. You're going to fall right off, you know? I don't know. Maybe there's a way to ride side saddle where you do feel secure, but it just I haven't ridden a horse since I was a child, so what do I know? My favorite judgment card. They're all my favorites. Not really. They're not all my favorites, but because she is choosing willingly to become a vampire. So the Fool's Journey, she has chosen to become a vampire. That is her ultimate embrace of the darkness. I don't know, this deck is just, I love it. It just speaks to me so specifically. Yeah, it's just, I love it. Judgment is the archetype of transformation. You have passed the point of no return. And here she is, risen the next day. She's now a vampire. I wish that because of that judgment card, and because we are supposed to know that this is the Shadow Witch. There are certain cards where the Shadow Witch is the one portrayed in the card. Even though most of the figures do look a lot like her, they're not all the Shadow Witch, but this is, and so is this. So I kind of wish that we could see like a little hint of a vampire tooth or something hanging out here. I think that would just take this card to the next level for me, but we don't get that. But we can just imagine that they're under there. The vampire teeth are under there because this is after her transformation. And she's got her 4 little animal friends here. I mean, just like, this deck almost couldn't be more perfect. Like, some of the stuff, like, I just wish, I wish there were more diversity in this deck. You know, I wish that we saw, you know, more size diversity, more age diversity, more skin tone diversity, all of it. I wish that we saw a little bit more of that in general. in this deck, but yeah. Wait, I didn't do the thing. The world is the archetype of integration. You are the universe. Great, great world card. So the aces in this deck are very RWS, and they each, in the guidebook, they have kind of a description that starts the same in each ace card, like aces are the blah, 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 the seeds, blah, 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 tarot suits, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I'm telling you that, because I'm not going to really read a lot from the guidebook, if at all. Ignition is the key word. So for the minor arcana, we don't get the sort of archetype description, we just get a keyword at the beginning. And some of them are really weird. Like the keyword or the title for Two of Wands is Witch of Wands. Three of Wands is Vampire's Embrace. This one, like, I love the imagery and, you know, again, seeing a vampire, but I still kind of like, how is this Three of Wands? I mean, maybe if this is her first kill as a vampire, like, that's a portal that you're walking through. Four of Wands is Grumpy Old Troll. Very Frankenstein's monster vibes, which I still, like, I've kind of made peace with that card, but I still kind of don't understand it as a Four of Wands. This is my favorite Five of Wands ever. These little guys, they're referred to as fairies in the guidebook, but I just think of them as like little imps. I mean, I guess imps are kind of fairies, right? I don't know. I don't know all the, like, I love fairy shit, but I don't know all of the, like, you know, dryads, pixies, fairies, like, all the words. I don't know what they all mean, what they're all supposed to be. My brain doesn't really hold on to things like that. But this just seems like a perfect, because it just reminds you that, like, the Five of Wands, you know, you're fighting over things, but they're stupid things. So, it's cute in this sense because these little imps, their whole world is this mushroom, right? So it's easy to kind of like zoom out and be like, well, their little fights are kind of petty, and mine probably are too. That's just how that works for me. Kind of a dark Six of Wands, you know? It's like, what is this? Like some kind of funeral procession or something? Parade of Ghosts. Yeah, that's the title for this card. Like, the only creature that looks alive is this little baby. Seven of Wands is Confront the Shadow. So this is a very, like, kind of reminds me of the Seven of Wands in the Santa Muerte Tarot, where it's just, you're looking out at a forest. So it's like, from the perspective of you, it's you against the forest. So that's kind of what this is too, you against the forest. The things in the dark that you can't see. Eight of Wands, Mermaid's Dream. I like this sort of idea because most of the time with Eight of Wands, you just see the wands flying through the air. But this is the moment before when she is still, she's using her magic to send the wands up. So they haven't started flying through the air yet. They're just getting ready to. I don't really like this Nine of Wands. Like, I used to really hate it, but I don't mind it now as an image, but I still don't see it as a Nine of Wands. Clown Crossing is the description on this card. If I remember any specific, like, moments in the guidebook, I have a terrible memory, so I might be passing over some really cool things in the guidebook. So I'm sorry about that, but this video is already like an hour long. Ten of Wands is demonic fire. Another one that's like, it kind of confuses me. I feel like there was something in this description that made me understand it better. The demon of fire stands with 1 wand in her hand and 9 wands in her pack. She is radiant and full of energy, embodying the culmination of the entire suit of wands. Tens in tarot are the end of the suit, the end of a cycle. The world card circles back to the Fool, and the 10 circles back to the Ace. Your journey and experience begins again. You have taken the current cycle and situation as far as it can go. That is a good sentence for 10 of Wands in general. Allow yourself to surrender to all you have learned. To surrender to what is out of your control. Page of Wands is Burning Ember. Knight of Wands, Explosion. I don't really like most of the knights in this deck. But just as sort of a little nugget of advice for you guys. When you have a tarot deck, you get a tarot deck where like there's a lot of imagery in the deck that you really like, but then there's always those cards that you really don't like. A lot of the time, if you do truly spend time getting to know a tarot deck and you don't just reject it because it has 5 or 10 cards you don't like. I mean, if the cards that you don't like are genuine deal breakers for you and they're very, very triggering, and not in a way that triggers growth for you, but more just if they just cause you panic, you know, for whatever reasons in your own life, that's a different thing. But if it's something that's just like, I don't know, you get to know the cards. So sometimes, a lot of the time, if you really get to know a deck, you end up accepting those cards that you don't like quite as much, you know? Like the ones that I really bristled against in this deck when I first got the deck over a year ago. A lot of those cards I even kind of like now, you know? So that's the reward that you get for actually spending time with your tarot decks, you know? I don't know what I'm trying to say with that, but probably my favorite Queen of Wands. I love her like full hips and her cat. I wish her cat was just like a little bit more, you know, had a little bit more presence. But I love it. Queen of Wands, what is her little keyword? Charismatic flame. Hell yeah. King of Wands, Iconoclast. Iconoclast. Okay, I'm gonna stop this. Unfortunately, I can't pause it because iPhone won't let you pause your videos. And then I will get a refill of my coffee and be right back. I'm back. Did you miss me? All right, we're ready for Ace of Cups. Flow. Through this particular walkthrough with you guys, I am, for pretty much the very first time, I'm accepting the fact that the DW exists. And like, just the initials bothered me for a long time. The initials on the back of the cards, the initials on this cup, the initials on the, like, tree branches and stuff. And, you know, the DW shows up a lot. But I think I'm embracing it now. Like, at least it's not an artist's initials, like I said before. Love the fact that the crow is here, or raven, or whatever. Two of Cups. I love this keyword. that's used in the guidebook. Recognition. And I love that it's animals. There's a lot of animal energy in the Minor Arcana in this deck. Excuse me. Bumping the tripod. Weird Sisters. That's the like title of this card. I love it. I love it so much. Four of Cups is Unseen Gift. This is just a perfect deck for me. And of course, perfect is not, you know, to be taken literally, because it's not perfect. There are, like, when I was counting cards that I hate in all of my tarot decks, that was a project that I did like a couple months ago. Darkwood Tarot actually had a lot of cards that I really don't like. And of course, I'll mention them when we get to them. Five of Cups, Sadness. Just very traditional, Five of Cups, but it's with an animal. I know for some people that alienates them from the card, but for me, it makes it more powerful to have an animal. Six of Cups, Mother Crow. I like that. She's trying to make her baby's little world beautiful. Gathered all these little, what are those? Moonflowers, yeah. This one's great. This is one that I think Abigail Larson sells as a print. And I'd love to have this hanging up in my house somewhere. Of course, I'm running out of wall space at this point. Vision Quest. So this is interesting because in the guidebook, it describes what is in each cup and what options they represent, which I think is interesting. I don't know if this is like a traditional RWS thing that I don't know about, but okay, I'm just going to list for you what it says in the guidebook. So cup number 1 is Empress and creativity. That's the choice there. Cup number 2 with the moon in it is High Priestess and intuition. Cup 3 with the snake is lovers and passion. Cup 4 is Tower and disillusionment. Cup 5 is Wheel of Fortune, fortune with all the baubles, with the jewelry and the baubles in it. Cup 6 is the world and integration with the wreath. And cup 7 is the devil and temptation. So that is interesting. As long as I've had this deck, I have not read that. And I like the idea of looking at the Seven of Cups as a vision quest too. I love this Eight of Cups. Oh my God, the colors, the snake, it totally speaks to me as an Eight of Cups. It just works for me. The title of this card is Slithering Snake. Slinky snake travels up a rocky path. She leaves a nest of snake eggs. Oh, does she? Is that what this right here is? Ooh, she's abandoning her children? I don't know. I'm not going to get too deep into the guidebook because this is already going to be a long video and I cannot make it 3 hours again. Nine of Cups, just this sort of idea of your cat bringing you exactly what it thinks you want. Be careful what you wish for. Devour it. 10 of Cups is happily ever after. This cute little wolf family. Oh my God. So 10 of Cups. It's great. I love it. I keep wanting to say the word perfect, which of course I don't mean literally as perfect, but you know what I mean. For some reason, at least 2 of the pages in this deck give me Fiona Apple vibes. Like, even if they don't look like her necessarily, but this Page of Cups gives me Fiona Apple vibes. Her title is The Intuitive. Page of Water, half human, part animal, and all heart. And she's got the little fishy in her cup too. She's really the only court card in the Cups courts that I like. I do not like this Knight of Cups. He is called the Romantic, but I do not trust that face. No, ma'am. Do not trust this Knight of Cups. Don't do it. And if you think he's cute, you might need to confront why you trust this face. Sorry. I'm kidding, of course. My opinions are not reality. They're my reality, but... Queen of Cups, the Empath. I mean, she's fine. She reminds me of someone, and I'm not going to say it out loud because then you're not going to be able to unsee it. But she reminds me of a certain celebrity that I don't want to be reminded of. But again, like, I'm getting past it. The more time I get to know this deck, the more I like those first impressions kind of like deepen and transform, you know? Because they're not first impressions anymore. I've had this deck for over a year now. King of Cups is called the Virtuoso. I don't love him either because, like, why does he get this beautiful water siren creature when the Queen of Cups didn't get a beautiful water siren creature? Why does he? I don't trust him either. No. They look like Disney parents or something. Okay. Ace of Swords, the origin story. Don't love a crown in the Ace of Swords. I mean, I know that's kind of a traditional thing and there's probably a meaning for it. Like, you're the chosen royalty or something. I don't know, but I just don't like it. Don't love this Two of Swords either, but I am particularly picky about Two of Swords. Like, I get the idea that, like, okay, up here, you know, with her blindfold on, she is imagining all of these scary creatures around her in the forest. But when you look in the reflection, they're not there. So it's an interesting concept. I guess I haven't had the moment where this imagery is unlocked for me, you know, like sometimes when you don't understand the imagery in a card, it's not unlocked for you until you do a reading, and like a particular reading for a particular person in a particular context, particular, you know, piece in a spread will unlock a card's imagery for you. That hasn't happened for me with this Two of Swords yet. I mean, I do appreciate the sort of duality of the card in general, you know? Retreat is the key word on that one. Three of Swords, heart opener. This is one of my favorite Three of Swords. I like the idea of the spider. To me, I don't know who told me this, and I've said this in several videos, so forgive me if you've heard this before, but someone at some point told me that whenever you see a spider, encounter a spider in your real life, that's Kali just popping up and saying hi. And so the Three of Swords is like one of my birth cards. It's if everybody has like a minor arcana card based on their birthday and a major arcana card based on the numerology of your birthday, and this is my minor arcana card. October 3rd is my birthday, and then it falls in the space of Three of Swords. So Three of Swords is my card. And this one might be my favorite. And I really like the black blood bleeding out the bottom, but it's not an excessive amount of black blood. Like, if I could do my tattoo over again, I would have kind of dialed back the blood because that's like a little too much. But yeah. Doesn't mean I regret my tattoo, by the way. Happily Never After. So this one was hard for me at first, but let me show you in the guidebook. So this looks like a really predatory moment, right? And it's kind of creepy and it's upsetting to me. But let me show you in the guidebook. You can't really tell when you look at the card. But in the guidebook, you can see her eyes are open. She is fully aware of what's about to happen. She's just like, try it, boy. Try it. I will slice your head right off. So I've come to accept that one. This is my favorite Five of Swords of all time. I feel like I'm saying that with so many cards in this deck. That's why it's like, seriously, imagery-wise, this is probably my favorite deck of all time. This is internalized misogyny. This card is internalized misogyny. And as soon as I saw this image in this deck, that is how I view Five of Swords a lot of the time now. And it totally unlocked Five of Swords for me. Like, oh, okay, the concept of internalized misogyny is isolating yourself from others that you actually have a lot in common with. It's that sort of idea of like having an arch nemesis, because an arch nemesis is usually a person that reminds you a lot of yourself. And so if you perceive that they're doing better than you, then they're doing better at being you than you, you know, that kind of thing. Like, this is that concept to me. Like, why is she hurting this person? Why? She could be friends with this person. She could go over and take those swords out of her back and untie her and, you know, figure out how to become friends with her. You know, this is sort of the like stepmom and Snow White moment, right? They could have been close. This one I still don't understand. Six of Swords. And like in the guidebook even, it talks about like, it's just questions. Like, is this woman taking the other woman's baby, or is she saving this baby from this woman? You don't know. So why is there that kind of question in a Six of Swords? I don't understand that. I really don't. Like, this to me reads more like a Seven of Swords. Like, this would have been a great Seven of Swords, actually. Like, maybe without the boat situation, because with the boat you do think of Six of Swords. But I'm kind of picky about Six of Swords too. That one I still just, I haven't made peace with that. The imagery in general is pretty, but it's just like, I don't like that question. Like, why are we questioning what's, I mean, the story that I tell myself is that, you know, this person over here is the mother and she's going through some really hard times right now. She's not actually being a great mother at the moment. And so this chick is just sort of like the social worker, taking the kid away to temporary safety until she gets her shit back together. And she's gonna get her shit back together. And then the baby's gonna get to be brought back to her. And the baby's gonna be young enough that she's not even gonna know that she had to be taken away from her mom in the first year and a half of her life or whatever. You know, that's the story I tell myself to get through this, but it's like I had to do a little bit of a backbend to get there. So that's a Six of Swords thing, but yeah. Seven of Swords, Red Hood in the Wood. I do sort of like this as a Seven of Swords because it makes you question her, makes you question the trustworthiness of Red Riding Hood. Maybe the story wasn't, maybe she was the villain, you know? Maybe she was the villain all along. Maybe it wasn't the big bad wolf. Or maybe it is. And that kind of like questioning is exactly what the Seven of Swords is about, right? Execution is the Eight of Swords. So this was one where the guidebook definition makes all of these creatures suspicious. The vulture, the rats. But in my mind, I love this card, but I love it because I see all of these creatures as being helpful. You know, like they're here as soon as she frees herself, they're here to help her. That's the way I see this, but that's not the way the guidebook sees it. Nine of Swords is self-critique. Pretty traditional looking Nine of Swords. I really like this Ten of Swords, Death of the Ego, because to me, it looks like she's levitating. It looks like this is a very liberating moment for her. Being at the end of this particular journey of swords, she is liberated. Here's that Page of Swords that we saw fighting the devil in the devil card. The detective is her little keyword. She gives me very Joan of Arc vibes. Got the little, I guess it's not really a cardinal. It's just a little red bird. Another knight I don't really trust. The Fighter. I do like all the ravens though. Queen of Swords has butterflies, and she's the articulator. The King of Swords is the thinker. I like that he has a little vulture companion, but I don't trust him either. But that's me. I don't trust a lot of men. Ace of Pentacles, the world in a grain of sand. I love this sort of like the really warm tones, like fall vibes in the Pentacles. We get a lot of pumpkin patches in the Pentacles. Get a lot of trees in the Pentacles. Choice is the key word here. Again, like the dark wood is being personified, you know? You're making friends with the trees in the dark wood. Three of Pentacles is creativity. I really like this image, but it's so different than all the other images in this deck. It's just the most abstract image in the entire deck. And it just seems a little off because of that. But I do like it. I feel like there was a little bit of rushing through the Pentacles. Like maybe Abigail Larson went through and the Pentacles was the last suit. Because I feel like some of the minor arcana is not quite as well thought out as the rest of the deck. I don't dislike any of it. Like, I like this as a Four of Pentacles. Miser is the key word. I do not like that interpretation of the Four of Pentacles. I don't usually see it that way. But maybe it's just because my own personal relationship to money, I don't hoard it at all. I don't know how to hoard money. I don't know how to save money. So this is not ever the interpretation of my own personal readings. Is never, you're hoarding your money. Like, nope, because I'm not. I'm not at all. Five of Pentacles. I don't really like this one because I know we're supposed to think that these two people are in it together, but I see this imagery as she's running from him. She needs to get away from him. But the title for this card is Dark Knight. Again, I don't like some of the Pentacles. I just don't like in this deck. I don't really like the Six of Pentacles. This sort of like, I mean, I do see that this can be an interpretation of Six of Pentacles. You know, you need money, so you have to sign a contract with some evil corporation in order to get the loan that you need. So it makes sense. This is kind of how Six of Pentacles is represented in our society. But I like to see this as a much more benevolent balancing card than what is shown here. But I get it. Devil's Deal is the title on this card. Love this Seven of Pentacles. Sleeping with the zucchini. That's a reference to Gilmore Girls. I do know that these are not zucchinis. She's sleeping in the pumpkin patch. She's taking care of her investment. She's keeping them warm throughout the course of the night. She has her scarecrow here too. Slumber is the title on that card. This one confuses me because this one reminds me too much of a Seven of Pentacles in general. And this imagery looks a lot like the Seven of Pentacles in Shadowscapes. So it's just, for me, this doesn't really say Eight of Pentacles. Dryad is the key word on this one. Dryad is like a tree spirit, right? So it's fine, I guess. I wish it just had a little bit more of an Eight of Pentacles vibe to it, I guess. Nine of Pentacles, Secret Garden. We still have the little snail. And she is the bird of prey in this Nine of Pentacles. Love that. Really like this Ten of Pentacles. My only squabble with this card is the fact that we have all these different animals. So we have these two cats down here. We have the ravens. There's two ravens. There's two spiders. There's two bats. But that's it. All you would have had to do is add, let's see, we got the two cats, the two ravens, the two spiders, and the two bats. That's 8 creatures. All you would have had to do is add another pair of creatures and you would have had 10. This is the 10 of Pentacles. I guess maybe we can just imagine that there's 2 other creatures we can't see inside the tree. That's how I'll deal with that in my brain. But I really like tree imagery in the Ten of Pentacles. That, for some reason, just seeing a tree is enough for me to get everything I need out of the Ten of Pentacles. This is the other page of, despite the fact that, like, obviously this is not a white person, but she's still, for some reason, there's like an essence of Fiona Apple here. I don't know what it is. I think it's the eyes. The way that Abigail Larson chooses to depict her pages' faces. They do have kind of exaggerated eyes and emotion in their face, which reminds me of Fiona Apple. The student is they're sort of all kind of tree creatures in the Pentacles. This is the only knight in this deck that I trust. I like his, you know, that's sort of like the traditional like knight bringing a message. He's handing off a message, or he's receiving a message from either way, from the owl. And I trust him. He has a kind face, whereas the other knights in this deck do not have kind faces. Again, that is my opinion. Best Queen of Pentacles of all time. This is Poison Ivy. The rabbit is still here. She's sort of entwined with this tree throne that she's sitting in. I love it. Keyword is sensual goddess on that Queen of Pentacles. King of Pentacles, the builder. Okay, there it is. We did it. So overall, as a review of this deck, if you are a beginner, I think this one would, I mean, if you're really drawn to this imagery, this one would be a great deck to learn with, I think. I do think it has most of the, like, you know, the easiest to understand tarot symbolism, which is within the RWS tarot. So I do think that you get that with this deck for sure. And the guidebook is pretty thorough as far as an introduction to tarot. So like if you are looking to, I don't like to be a salesperson, but if you are, you know, if the reason that you're watching this is trying to decide if this would be a good like starter deck, I do think it would be. I think that you could really get a lot out of just this deck if you resonate with the imagery. It's like, you know, as far as like review of, you know, cardstock and things, like I really like Llewellyn cardstock. Like that's super flexible, easy to shuffle. It's great. Yeah, I think this is a really, really well done deck. And, you know, I am biased because I really resonate with this imagery. But, you know, this isn't one of those, I don't get the vibe from this deck that this was a rush deck in most cases. Like, you know, like I said, some of those Pentacles cards, I feel like maybe could have benefited from being a little bit more well thought out. But other than that, and then that could have just been a publisher thing. Like they might have had a deadline that they had to meet, you know, whereas some of our older tarot decks, you know, they probably didn't have a deadline. They were working on decks. Wasn't it the case with like Tarot of the Cat People that like, that was just sort of like somebody found all of those paintings in this chick's attic, like after she died or something? I don't know if that story is true, but maybe we'll find out when I do my deep dive on Tarot of the Cat People. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up because this is already a long video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry this wasn't quite as deep of a deep dive, but that's just how it had to be. I already read that 290 page book on camera, and you'll never see that footage because I rage deleted it. And that's how that goes, you know? All right.